These are talks with Jason and Valorine. We are speaking with Valorine and Jason there for the intuitive movement. So if you just do a short introduction yourselves.
Yeah, I think
Go
you
for
go.
it. Go for it.
So this is Jason and Valorine, and we basically have sensational power. We have the sensational eight. We had a really in-depth discussion about what that looks like today, what each particular program looks like, and how it all works together. Because, you know, like we mentioned, there's Dragonfly Yoga, and then after a few days, we'll have like sensational circuits. So we do the circuit training, and then the next class would be in relation to the last class. So ultimately, you get like that awesome full body workout, and it's beyond 1 week since there's 8 programs. It just kind of like circles around that, and each time it's different as well. So in addition to this intuitive physical fitness, we also do creative renewal and prosperous movement, which is more of one-on-one. And the creative renewal is super customized, super exciting. Some things are general as well. I have this course called High Five Achievements, and I really like work with people to do a workshop, like a 30-minute workshop consistently, and then people have a chance to really explore their creative side that they may have left behind. So Jason, please.
Yeah, sure. So we got to go over everything again. We talked about a lot of stuff.
Just do a short recap.
Basically, yeah. So just to build upon what Valorine said, what we do is we help people to navigate these invisible rhythms of life, these natural healing rhythms. We help guide them to kind of tap into them, and essentially, you know, we can. It's not something that a lot of people are. It's not that they're not aware of them, but they are unaware of them. But it's just that people are just kind of disinterested in certain things because they draw similarities between like pseudoscience and different things, and the proof is in the pudding. You know, when you see someone that's like really healthy, really happy, they're having a good time, they have high energy, they don't need coffee, they don't need stimulation, you don't need any stimulants, you don't need any excess energy. Like, you have it, you're consolidated, you're producing your energy from your own essence, right? That's what creativity is you live off your creativity. When your creativity thrives and surges and it's in excess, then, you know, like, what is seeping our creativity, right? Is it like these depressions, these disorders? They eat up our creativity, right? Because they are the evidence that like something is out of order in like these flows. The flow is broken, and instead of it being this infinity sign, it becomes 2 separate circles, and then it's like separated, and then we get stuck in it like a snow globe rather than finding that movement within ourselves. And it shouldn't feel like a hamster on a wheel just running around. That's how people, like the rat race, you know, trying to chase the piece of cheese, the pursuit of happiness, the American dream. All of these things are built on breaking that affinity assigned apart. And what keeps it apart, what is in the middle, is creativity. Like, the creativity is that conversion point where everything, it's the cohesion, it's what holds everything together. And that's why creativity is synonymous with joy. When you're enjoying your life, that's when your creativity is at the highest. If you're miserable, if you're just suffering through your life, you're not like, hey, I'm gonna create some amazing thing. Sometimes people find solutions when things suck, and you know, they find solutions and whatnot, but it's not necessarily the same thing as being in command of your creativity, like being innovative, you know, being this genius level creator where like you come up with solution. Like, you shouldn't have to be between a rock and a hard place to come up with a solution. It shouldn't be forced out of you like the last little bit of toothpaste in the tube. You shouldn't have to force that creativity out. Like, that's just an evidence that you're depleting yourself if you need that sort of push to be the best. So that's the thing about nature, and that's the thing about creativity. These are 2 very different energies, And it's about making our creativity and nature in harmony with each other. And of course, these things that we think are natural, like aggression and like just losing our cool and snapping, and people go like, that means that, you know, it's all right, you know, that happens. No. We need to have a zero tolerance policy with certain behaviors. We need to say like, that is unacceptable. Like we need, like, tolerance is a wonderful thing, right? But we need to be sort of like intolerant towards certain behaviors, because we got to say like, listen, like that is not okay. It's time to change. And that's why if like people don't want to change, that's why we have such a disparity in the duality of life. Is because, you know, some people, they can handle freedom, and other people, it's like they need imprisonment, they need discipline. So that's a huge part of sensational power, is when you gain self-discipline, then, you know, you don't need to be punished for anything. And people who lack self-discipline, they need to be disciplined. And it's an interesting word. And so when we have this self-discipline, when we're in charge of ourselves, you know, then what happens is it actually opens up these new flows. And so our basic flow in sensational power is this flow of encouragement. You know, when we come together and we have not just any conversation, not just any meeting, but when you feel someone is supporting you, when you're with a person and you're like, this person gets me, that friendship, that camaraderie, that companionship, that excitement to see another person, that's just a huge foundation of sensational power. When we don't just want to work with anyone, we're not desperate to work with people. We want to work with the right people. We want to work with people who are sensational. We want to work with people who are amazing. And maybe there's just like a little shift of mentality. There's just a little thing. It's a little mental splinter that just needs to be unwedged to get those gears moving again, to get them flowing again. We want to kick those crutches away. We want to get people walking on their own 2 feet. We want to get that coffee cup out of their hand. We want people to summon, evoke, master their energy. We want people excited about life. We don't want people talking about the news. We want people telling us about what's new in their life. And I think that's when people cease to be interesting. They talk about other people. And people who talk too much about themselves, that's exhausting. But when you meet a person that is actually genuinely interested in you and asks you about your day, like they want to know about you, that is that first energy. The second energy, you can find that with most people, but sometimes they're just passing through your life, and sometimes they just want things from you. Some people, we call that charisma, we call that persuasion. Some people have mastered that frequency and they've used it and abused it. That's how they manipulate people, right? Some of the best politicians in the world have mastered this frequency of manipulation. They've used that encouragement, like telling us what we want to hear, to just manipulate us. And that's where our second frequency comes in, which is loyalty, that we're actually benefiting you with our knowledge of these things. We're working with you, this bond of trust. And that's something that can't happen overnight. That's something that happens after years and years of us being here. And sensational power has existed for over a decade, and it's not going anywhere. And we're just pivoting. We're just enhancing what we're doing. You know, it's like a mountain shaping over time, and this is just our pinnacle. So our next frequency is, a lot of companies, they have these things. They have great trust. People trust them. They work well with people. You know, they have all of these things. They encourage you. They help you. There's accountability. They benefit you in some way. But what they don't do is they don't actually work with you. Your input isn't required. They don't actually take in consideration your individuality. And that's what we do. And that is the thing that makes our intuitive programming, our classes, so different from our prosperous movement, which is custom to you, which is so much more than personal training. Like we're talking about, like, that's why we had to call it something new. We had to call it prosperous movement. It's not just physical movement, it's prosperous movement. We're talking about increasing everything. And that leads me to the highest frequency of sensational power, which is prosperity. Ultimately, when you understand prosperity is a little bit different than success, that success is about helping yourself, while prosperity is about helping everyone. Success is a very individual activity, while prosperity involves everyone. To be prosperous, you need to be generous. You need to be a philanthropist. You need to be charitable. I could keep saying synonyms like this, but it's just not, like, you have to understand the oneness in everyone. You have to see through the facade that we're individuals, and you have to find the oneness, see through the individuality and see the oneness in everyone, that everyone is connected. And that is what prosperity is that thought. when you're in alignment with that thought, then you kind of understand what this is all about. This isn't about how do I become a beast or an animal? How do I eat more food and become No, that is not what this is about. This is how do I cover my bases? How do I Maslow's hierarchy of needs? That's what this company is for. If you actually look at it, you cover all your bases of the pyramid so that you can get to self-actualization. One company doing this for you. And this is like unheard of. We had to make it this way because we wanted something that wasn't available to us, that we had to be completely independent for, to offer something that's non-existent in the world. That's why everything we do, we can compare it to things, but we had to give it its own name. It's not just physical fitness, it's intuitive physical fitness. It's not just helping people be more creative. It's not just therapy, it's creative renewal. Because that's what therapy is at the end of the day. It's about freeing up your potential and getting it back to your purpose. So it's about, like, we're not stuck in this stodgy existence. We're not feeling like we ought to do anything. It's about being liberated. And that's what creative renewal is about, breaking any blockages out and clearing out the path, getting back to drive, finding our drive, our vision, focusing on where we're going, because it's a vehicle. And it's about, clearing out, anything that's just blocking us from doing what we want to do. And at the end of the things, prosperous movement, if people are really, they have all these things, but there's just something off. There's something off in their life. We have worked with so many people. Our experience is time tested. We're not educated. We're actually people who are passionate, who have worked with others. This is what we've done. We've sacrificed our lives for helping others. And now we're just like, it's time that we get what we're owed. It's time for us to get paid. And it's not about, there's a lot of people out there, they don't do it because this is something that fuels them. They're doing it because the money fuels what they actually want to do. It's not in harmony with their actual purpose on this planet. It's not a parallel. It's like, they're like, I'm going to do this. And then you get like therapy sessions or personal training. I've been there where you're like, do I do it like this? And the guy's on his phone. He's like, what? Like, I already told you. And you're like, Jesus, you're snapping at me. And it doesn't make you feel like empowered. It doesn't make you feel like you're working towards your goals in your life. It just feels like this is an auxiliary thing that I'm doing on the side. And it's not in harmony with what you actually want to do with your life, which is very imperative. Like, if you go to a personal trainer, do they ask you what your dreams are? Do they ask you, like, what's your vision life? No, they don't give a crap about that because they don't have the faculties to deal with that information. There's nowhere to put that in their box template. They have nowhere to put that information. They're just giving you this cookie cutter life that you have to pick from. Okay, what type of body do you want? Do you want to look like Jean-Claude Van Damme or do you want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger? And you're like, neither of those. I want to be something that I can't describe to you. And that is something that someone who has no empathy, and usually people who are in those health fields, they are not even empathetic towards themselves or what they want to do. Because like I mentioned in the video we lost, they're usually suffering. There's no joy. And then what have people have been programmed to feel joy is like this self-sabotage, like, yeah, oh, it hurts so bad. And you're like, what the heck? And when you start to enjoy the pain of your body, that is like a form of masochism, right? It's masochism. So we have like sadism and masochism, and people become like sadistic to themselves because maybe something happened in their childhood, maybe something happened as a young adult where they resent themselves, they don't appreciate themselves, and they're causing themselves to suffer, and that's bringing them satisfaction, not joy, but satisfaction. Satisfaction is different than enjoyment. Satisfaction is the death of desire. You will desire something and then it's over and then you're satisfied. It is the death of desire. When you desire something and it is accomplished, then you feel satisfied. But enjoyment is a choice. To feel joy, to feel happiness is 100% a mindset that is the same as exercising your bicep, lifting that weight. To feel joy, you have to lift with your emotional body. And sometimes our emotions our command over them are so weak, that link to our emotions are so weak that if something outside of us has more command over our emotions than our own intention. We have an intention to feel happy. I go, I want to feel happy today. But life is like, you know what? I'm going to bring you little tiny irritations. And then you go, it's so hard to keep this happiness up when life is trying to go, no. And then you're like, and then you're just disappointed. So you understand that your emotional body has these invisible arms where you can choose to be happy. You can hold it up. You can put it in the forefront of your mind and on the stage of your mind. You can use that intention. You can hold it there and be like, I'm happy regardless. And life may bring you all kinds of curveballs in the form of people, where people go, you have no right to be happy. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. But you got to keep focused on that, because the moment you look away, you're going to drop it and you're going to grab what they're bringing you, because it's easy to be given things rather than to actually give yourself what you need. So hopefully that answers some questions. It got really...
It does. And I quite like what you've been mentioning there, you know, like it's quite easy to be given things, right, instead of like give yourself anything that is useful. So, you know, it takes me to the point of, you know, where people talk about self-love, and now that is one word which gets thrown out a lot nowadays, and for me it has actually lost its meaning. So it's not actually, you know, when people say, oh yeah, self-love is important, you know, work-life balance is a lot of these words are now just being thrown out there so many times that they've just lost their meaning. But I wanted to bring back to the conversation in terms of where you're mentioning your training sessions and everything, where it's brilliant for entrepreneurs who are new entrepreneurs, or who are on their journey as an entrepreneur already, you know, because I can see that being an entrepreneur is very stressful, and you need that balance of that work. Forget the work-life balance as well. You need that balance of clarity and calmness, so that you are able to continue with the tasks that you need to be completing, and plus take the negativity on which is coming your way from around the world and your friends and families, because you're an entrepreneur and not doing what the society wanted you to do, right? You are setting your own path. It would be something ideal for, I can see this an ideal thing for them as well to be part of, right? Because you are surrounded by all this negativity as people are just throwing at you. And as you were mentioning earlier, you know, you're trying to hold your own happiness and not distract yourself, as you know, but there comes a point that will happen, and this is something they should go through with you guys in terms of which would that be, because you mentioned about three main big training courses there. So which one do you reckon would be ideal for a budding entrepreneurs, or, you know, entrepreneur journey they are on? Which one would you think would be good for them?
So I would recommend for someone who, because basically how they work is, with us, with Creative Renewal, the intuitive programming is included. Whatever you get, it builds off of the previous tier. So when we work with people with Creative Renewal, we want to stress that creativity does not mean artistry. Being creative does not mean your ability to create artwork, right? So creativity is the essence of everything. We're not talking about creating a thing. We're talking about the potential to reclaim your life, to create your business. We're talking about clearing out all of these obstructions in your mind. And it's not an easy process. This is our version of therapy. This is our version. Like, I don't like using this word, but I don't like life coaching. It's like what you said with self-love. Like, life coaching doesn't mean anything to me. I originally really liked life coaching. I was like, we're going to be life coaches. Then I looked up this saturated market. It is ridiculous how many people are like, because you don't need credentials, so people think they can do it. But don't get us wrong, where we say we don't have credentials for this specific thing. We do, but where it's been given to us is from our experience. We have gotten this, and if you work with us in any capacity, you will see our ability to tune in to who you are, rather than who you think you are, who your parents want you to be, who your friends are coercing you into being, so that you can be in this almost this bribery of being a friend with a person, this like blackmail. You know, it's like being a counterfeit version. And what we're going to do is we're just going to wipe that coin clean and get it nice and shiny, and realize that you have all this value that people have just taken for granted. And that is the whole thing about creative renewal, is when your very essence, your very ability to solve problems is called into question, that in itself is a problem. Your ability to problem solve is questioned. How maybe you're a really out of box thinker. Maybe you're just this person that, like they say, a person who's ahead of their time, but there's no such thing. Some people are just obsolete. Maybe you're just surrounded by obsolete people. It's not that you're ahead of the time. It's the people around you are antiquated. They have antiquated beliefs. So what we really do if someone wants to be an entrepreneur, which we actually believe most people should be entrepreneurs, if everyone fulfilled their purpose, obviously some people, their purpose is just to help one another. They're more like engineers, and they're not so much like visionaries. And that's not an insult. Some people, they want to spend their input on like building, you know, they want to build the train tracks. Some people know what they want and other people know how to do it, and that's fine. And we've always seen ourselves, we're more like why people. We know why we want to do things, we know what we want, but you know, sometimes we don't know how to do it. And that's where this business came from, is there's so many people like us that don't know how. But when you're this type of person who's really spent your life looking from the outside inward, you start to notice all of these like invisible connections. You start to notice all of these invisible rhythms and why things don't work. You know, there's so many things, right? Like the law of attraction, you have all of these different flows. And how do you actually be connected to these rhythms? How do I input into this flow? Because if you don't input into the flow, you're not connected to it. You have to give at a high frequency to receive at a high frequency. If you're giving down here, if you're giving criticism, if you're giving negativity, guess what you're getting? You're getting that. But if you're up here, if you're at a higher frequency, and you were just talking about self-love, I love that. I see things about self-love and I can't help but roll my eyes. I just roll my eyes and I'm like, self-love doesn't mean pouring a bath for yourself. It doesn't mean while you're in that bath you have a little drinky drink. It doesn't mean any of that. It doesn't mean that you're self-indulgent, you're having some chocolate. That is self-indulgence. It's not self-love, that's self-indulgence. So when we start talking about self-love, we're not even talking about this self. We're talking about your creativity, the part of you that is often neglected and ignored. And to connect with that version of yourself, you usually got to do what you're not doing. It's usually the thing you're not too excited about. Sometimes it means, you know, even getting rid of a friend that makes you come out to bars and drink with them. Maybe it's this tough thing, this difficult thing. And self-love is so glorified. Oh, you don't have, it's like a fake friend that just tells you what you want to hear, keeps you complacent because they're afraid of your potential. They're afraid once you start chasing your purpose and your passion in life, they're going to lose you and they're going to be no one without you. So if you feel like you're that person in your circle of friends, you feel like you're like the star of the show and they're your extras, that's usually an indicator that they're dependent on you. They're almost like parasites. So we have to look at it through all kinds. For as many characters there are in the world, and there is a copious amount of characters, there is not like an end to the characters in this world. There is so many characters. There is that many creative solutions, and that's what creative renewal is. It takes creativity to create creativity. These other things won't create creativity. Only creativity creates creativity. And that seems like something that's like a child would say, but exactly, it's not something an adult would say. An adult would say, oh, to create, what sparks your creativity? They'd be like listening to music. They'd be like, oh, going outside, getting a massage. None of that stuff creates creativity, because to create creativity, you usually can't be experiencing this world, because experiencing this world, there's a price of creativity to have experiences. So the absence of experience creates creativity. Stillness creates creativity. Silence creates creativity. Enjoyment creates creativity. So we're not here to give away our secret sauce, so to speak. We definitely want people to understand that, you know, being an entrepreneur has steps, and depending on who people are, we're not so greedy or corporate oriented to be like, we're not going to work with you. I don't even believe in setting prices. I just did it because it's so expected. People expect that from a professional to have set prices. I'd rather work with a person because what they can pay me means a lot more than what I'm asking for. That's the conversation, right? Working with people. What can you offer? Like, what can you actually reach out? And that's that conversation. It's not necessarily about ideas. Sometimes it's about skills and talents. And conversation is just energy exchange. And it's really important for us to just get that point across that, you know, I think that it's really easy for people to get swept under the rug in this business. It's such a, like, it's so convoluted that people just go, oh, they're just that thing. And that's the thing, is there's so many nuances, and it's just something that would take years of study. People don't want to invest that time in you. They just want to kind of look into your eyes, and sometimes they just write you off. They just go, hey, you're that guy. You're a life coach. You're this person. You're not going to help me. There's so many people like that. And it's a shame because, you know, in the mix of people in there, there are people out there that are legitimately doing this because it's their calling. It's their impulsion. It's their procedure that they're marching into this world because they're inspired, and they'll inspire others. It's undeniable when someone's inspired because, like I said, creativity creates creativity. So if you're inspired, you're going to inspire others. But you can always tell when you find somebody who's like really fake, because you're going to pick up on that forgery. You're going to reach out and you're going to touch the paper and something will feel off. You'll know it's fake money. You'll know it's not real worth.
That's actually amazing.
Yeah, Jason has just so much value to share, and it never ceases to amaze me. You know, even before this, he was reading, you know, his nutritious thought of the day. So I'm so fortunate that, you know, he writes it every day, shares it on his website, but I get to actually hear it from him saying it. And it's just, it's so, there's so much depth, you know, like you ask him a question and he can take you to the depth of the ocean, right? Because he's there. That's where he lives, you know. And I'm super grateful for him and all that, you know, he has to offer. And, you know, I trust that, you know, with the right group of people, he's going to be really well received in his life. It's just, he's just bound to, you know, and he already is. And I think that, you know, more like, obviously people do a certain job to help people, to serve people, and the right people. The thing that happens sometimes is sometimes the knowledge is given to certain people, but they're unable to really truly act upon it and value it. And then even the motivational speaker, practitioner, you know, in his case, the intuitive, you know, physical fitness practitioner, like then they also, it's just kind of waste their time. It wastes everybody's time. So that's why those real people, because it will make a difference for them, you know. And like you said, like it could mean better, like ideas in the boardroom, right? That just came, and creativity that was dormant, that's now come alive and has many different forms. The physical form is there, you know, we value that, but it's even more than that. And, you know, he's making me realize that, like, time and time again. So.
You know, and that's amazing to hear from the both of you. And I certainly, definitely 100%, you know, agree with the creativity side of things. You know, it's just not, you know, when you say creativity, it's not just, yeah, you're creating artwork or you're creating music, you're creating painting or whatever that is. Creativity is a mindset of creating something that you want in life for yourself, for example. I mean, and that's how I go about it. Is if you are able to think something that you should be having, or is a lifestyle that you should be living, you are able to create that. And if you are able to think that, you are able to create that. But that comes with a mindset that you have to follow upon, that you know, is, you know, when there are people call it, you know, these are just dreamers and they're just dreaming. Yeah, there are dreamers who are just dreaming. But then, you know, it's, you know, from those dreamers, there are few who branch out and then they create what they are dreaming of. You know, I'll use the example of Richard Branson, for example, or Elon Musk, for example. You know, they're both dreamers of their time, but they then created a lifestyle to bring that dream to life, right? Elon Musk is still working on his dream to go to Mars, right, to the moon, that he keeps going on about. So he's doing it, but he's the way he's doing it, that's the way he knows how to do it, right? He's got people working for him now who've done all these degrees and everything, and he hasn't done any of those degrees. So you don't necessarily need all that education as well. That I also talk about. You know, the education system which has been created out there is created to just create employees, followers, and that's what and society is created as well, to see that this is norm, which is not the norm, right? The norm should be, what do you want to be? What do you create? What you want to create, right? And I see a questions pop up, and I'll see what. Can you see the question on your side?
We can't, not yet.
Okay, so I see a question come up here. Say, what keeps you calm if you don't get upset, angry? How do you deal with it? If you get upset and angry, how do you deal with it? So what keeps you calm if you get upset and angry?
So it's kind of an interesting way to look at it, because usually people ask you what gets you angry, right? What makes you upset? It's actually like a good way to look at it, like what keeps you calm, right? Like, how do I look at it from the inside out rather than the outside in. So I think that what really keeps me calm is definitely, like, there's a lot of things we all know, we know breathing, we know managing our energy. But for me, like, I've been asked this question so many times, and I answer always the same. What keeps me calm is knowing my true self and knowing that I'm fulfilling my purpose. And some things that, for me, my biggest thing that makes me upset is when I feel disrespected and when someone like challenges me, because like, it's not that I think highly of myself, it's that I know we're one. And when things are disrespected, it can send me into a downward spiral, because sometimes it's so upsetting to see how far, we're one. Like, I could have been born you could have been born me. And it's so upsetting to see someone that, we're essentially the same person, but we're under the spell of the world, of the Maya, that we're different. We're under this spell, we think we're separate. We think that if I help you, there's no, like, that's a lost cause, but it's not like that. When we learn that from prosperity. So for me, it's very much staying centered, staying from a place of ease and staying in there, not letting me get taken out of my center, not letting me, like a fish catching the hook, and it's like bait that pulls you out of your shell, and now you're exposed in the world. You're vulnerable. When you're vulnerable, you're susceptible, you're sensitive, and we need to be detached. We need to keep ourselves detached. We need to keep a distance between the illusion and stay connected internally. We don't need to feel insecure about what's happening outside of us. We need to look in. And that's how we'll actually appease our egos and all of these things that want to, like, poke their heads out of the shell and look into the world. And then that's how we get pulled out, because our mindset, like you were saying, like, when our minds are congruent with creativity, they're protective of our emotions. But when they're not, when our mind isn't focused on creativity, we're exposed and we have no protection. There's no security. So we get fearful, we get worried, we're susceptible to things, and then our imaginations are squandered into worst case scenarios. We can't help ourselves. It's just firing all cylinders, thinking about the worst thing that could happen. And people don't realize the program. It's like a dog, If you take a dog, and every time you turn, like, it's like a can. You open up the can, and then every time before they eat, they hear the can being open. Then it doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. Even if you're opening up a can for yourself, for your own food, the dog's like, oh, I'm gonna eat, right? Pavlov's dog. So we kind of look at it, and we got conditioned in our life. And it's very important to know, I catch myself all the time, because like for me to be in this position and to act like I'm perfect would be like a travesty. I'm not here to say that I'm an authority on this topic because I'm perfect, because I've mastered it. I'm here to say that I've been through it, and I'm going through it, and I'm progressing, and I know that life is hard. I know life is challenging. I know sometimes there's bait and there's hooks, and you feel like a fish getting pulled out of your sea of comfort, out of like your empowerment, and you get pulled into this dry land where you start suffocating. You can't breathe, because you have to come back to that breath. You have to realize those strings, those hooks, those lines, they're not permanent. You can sever them. You can detach from them, and you can bring yourself back into your center. So that's really important. And I think people need to know that I'm not here to tell people, it's not about what upsets me. Don't look at it like that. Look at it like, I love how the person asked the question, how do I stay calm? Because that's what you want. Don't think about it like, what's going to make me upset? Look at it like, what's going to keep me calm? Look at it from the other way. And by focusing on that positive, you will negate the negative, right? The positive and the negative, they coexist. And as long as we're focusing on the positive, that one will stay at bay. But ultimately, the highest frequency is not positivity, right? So we have negativity, we have positivity, they're the box. Then we have outside the box, that's neutrality. When we stay up here and we're neutral, we're detached from the world, one side of things, you know, they're considered, you know, they're the red. And then you have the blue, and the red and the blue, and they fight and they bicker back and forth and they say, pick a side. And then you're like, no, I'm not going to pick a side. I'm going to be up here because you guys can fight and you can kill each other. You can fight and you'll cause wars. But as long as I focus on what I want and I keep my peace, you guys will just be over there doing your thing, but it won't affect me. It will never reach me. You know, it's not going to burn my bridges. You know, if you burn your bridges with them, then guess what? You're an island. You're separate from them when you're detached. You're protected by that ocean. And always keep that ocean stocked. And the waters are your creativity. When you're full of creativity, anything's possible for you, especially when you're creative. The more creative you are, the more your mind's landscape changes. Maybe not your landscape of your mind, but your dreamscape, right? It's totally different. Your connection with your imagination is completely different than someone who's not in touch with their creativity. So like, for instance, some people, they have to go on vacation for 2 weeks a year, maybe 4 weeks split up throughout the year. That keeps them sane. Other people, they're able to take these little trips on their mind. They're able to take these little daydreams. And speaking of your education system, one thing you may agree on, because it seems like we're pretty harmonious on the education system, I don't think too highly of it, but is if you were a daydreamer in school, they tried to break and cripple your spirit. If you daydreamed, they try to snap out of that and get back into this class. They try to cripple that. They try to kill it right away, lose that imagination. And you stopped being like, as a child, you were very susceptible to praise and encouragement. You know, like when you went potty for the first time, they're like, hey, good job, you went potty. And you're like, yeah, you feel so special. But then when you start to do these things that feel good to you, your parents start going like, no, bad. And then you're like, no, it's just like being a little pet. So to come back to it, we're not helping people become their best. We're helping people to undo their worst, to get rid of their worst. So that's the way we're looking at it, because they're already their best. It's not about becoming your best. It's already there. It's just neglected. When we get rid of all this other stuff, we'll free up your potential.
Let me just give me a second. I think my Alexa just turned on by itself.
Maybe you said daydream too much, like, and then it picked up on a daydream song.
I think that Alexa wanted to join into our conversation as well. I love what you just shared there as well, you know, in terms of and how when you were answering how to be calm, and things you were saying, they so resonate with myself as well, because I've been told that I'm the calmest person people come across a lot of time, because nothing phases me. You know, the house will be burning down, but I'll be like, oh, okay, you know, have I got my phone with me? Have I got this? And that's it, I'm out, right? That would be it. I'll be outside telling people, oh yeah, the house is on fire, where you will see other people running it out manically, oh, house is on fire, we're ruined, and all that sort of, you know, nothing like that happens to me. And a lot of time also, you know, to myself. So when I was listening to your answer and also thinking about that question, so it comes like, I always think of how am I growing from this situation? So when I'm thinking with that mindset myself, so I don't get upset or angry, anything which is happening around me, because I had no expectation of whatever that was going to happen, right? So if it's gone great, amazing. If it's gone wrong, okay, what did I learn from it? What can I do better next time so that does not happen, right? So how I see it is, we are now wasting our own energy to create that unhappiness within us, which does not need to be there. Yeah, because as we were talking about earlier, life will throw that curveball at you. It's a bit like driving, because I love driving, because I go for a couple of miles drive every morning to clear my mind, and sometimes in the evening as well. So it's like driving on the road, right? So you might come across on the road that you usually drive on, but now it has humps on it. Now it has potholes on it, right? But now you're aware of it, you accepted it, and you continue driving it. You know it is. If you're able to dodge it, yeah, you can. But if you have to go over it, you just go over it, right? And you go through it. And there's no reason for you getting upset about it, because you know it, unless you change the route. Now change your route and then take a different route where the road is a little bit better for you. And that's what my mindset works in. And that's how I'm thinking. I will always solution focused in terms of, okay, what is this teaching me now? What can I do better? And why has this happened? So I'm not even looking at it as a victim mindset, or like, why has this happened to me now? I've been working on this all day and the whole week, and nothing's working. I would look at, okay, what's gone wrong? Where was the step that followed? I'll retrace my steps backwards and see, okay, what's happened. That goes for the person as well. So I always say, the relationship you build with each other, whether that's a friend or family member, there is something somewhere that you do that gives a picture of you in their mind, in their eyes. So now they are seeing you with that eyes and that mind. It's not what you are doing every day. That's what they are seeing you as. And they now, have a perception of you. That's what you're going to be doing every time and every day. And if you now do something different, they come back to you, oh, I didn't expect you to be doing this. That's not right. And then, maybe have an argument with you, or they say, oh, no, you're supposed to do this. So they do incorrect. And this is where then, if you have, I also, you don't, if you have no expectations of others in terms of what you're going to be getting from them, you're never going to get no disappointment or anything to be upset about, because you're just doing it from the sake of your heart, and the serve that you want to help and serve others. And if you just be in that mindset, you should never be getting upset about anything. And that's my personal experience anyway. And I'm not saying that I'm the master of this subject as well, but in my personal experience, that I've been doing since childhood, that I've been, because my childhood wasn't that great, but what it taught me was not to expect anything anymore. And when I am going through, if I'm connecting with people, I have a connection of you as an individual and what you're going to do. So tomorrow you might be a different person than what I met you today, because you've only shown me the day that today was. If I know you for 10, 20 years, then I might have a perception of you as a person. Yeah, this might be now, it looks like, Valorine and Jason are a little bit off key here at the moment. I don't know, I've never seen them do this, but because I know you for 20 years. But if you're now doing something and I don't know, that might be something you want to do today, right? And that's how I see it. And I think we're getting some questions there. We're not getting any questions anymore at the moment. But I like the way how you mentioned, is just to be there and stay calm. Is to just think about how to stay calm rather than putting your energy into the other side, right? So keep the balance. Always people thinking about the grass is greener on the other side. But hang on a minute, you have a lovely garden as well. The grass is greener on your side as well if you just water it, right? What do you say about that?
Yeah, may I just also wanted to add to this question as well. So please, Jason, hold your thoughts. Would love to hear it. Is always, because it's something new. Basically, yeah, you definitely want to water your garden and nurture your world. And basically, when it comes to anger, you could be burning your grass. It's like burning your grass. It's like holding coal, and it's like burning your hand, and you're upset with someone. You want to say something to someone or do something that could hurt them, and it's our hands that are burned in the process. So I really think it's learning about really putting things in perspective, that would be a form of bad indulgence, to indulge in that fiery anger. And what's better is to have some self-care. So if you realize in that moment that this is not beneficial for me to hold this anger, I need to harness my energy right now. I personally need to calm down, go for a walk. I know going for a walk really does it for me, just enjoying nature, enjoying the sights, going on a luscious walk, and by the end of it, like figuring out how can I do something beneficial with my energy rather than indulging in that anger. And really, like, really, I loved everything you guys said, and also knowing that for our system, for our brain, the anger is kind of like an earthquake too, like, because you won't be yourself in that moment. So don't make that a habit at all. Like, decide, make a decision, you know, that I am this, like, I am a good natured person, I'm a calm person. Tell yourself that. Have good self-talk, good communication with you, so you expect the best of yourself in those moments, and you won't have like this earthquake that's gonna, you know, cause this commotion in your brain and in your surroundings, because then it's not a natural thing for you to do that. What would be natural is to maybe be more spontaneous, more fun, more adventurous, just like enjoy, like be in joy, right, in the current moments. Someone asked a question for me regarding like what I do before sleep. And I would say, like, really, like, just don't watch TV before sleep. As interesting as it is and how much is going on over there, take that time to like wash up in a good way. Like, wash your feet, put some salt, you know, let all the and like negativities of the day, you know, come out of your body even before you sleep. Maybe like massage yourself, you know, massage your hands, you know, massage your back, massage your partner. So, like, just feel good and nourish that time. Maybe write a little bit, read some important things to you, and set that time up for yourself, nurturing your self-development, and know that you're programming your mind every day, you know, and sometimes things are on autopilot, but we don't have to live in autopilot, just the same day every day. We're creators, so we can actually write our stories of the day. We could nourish ourselves for that next blog post of the next morning and already program our minds to just wake up and deliver that information to us. So it's a matter of us, like, you know, pressing the right buttons. And, you know, I think it's not, the buttons are not on the remote control for me. I need to put that aside. I need to connect to like my own psyche, my own system, you know, and relax. So, and so back, do you want to answer that question that was there?
Before sleep?
No, there was another question that had come up as well. One other question, right?
One thing that I would add to this line of thought is that any emotion becomes like addictive over time. And when you start to think of your own brain as like your own personal apothecary, you know, your own pharmacist, and every time you feel an emotion, you're actually being prescribed a drug. There's a chemical consequence of each emotion. And it can happen the other way around too. You know, like when you actually ingest drugs, you feel certain emotions. And that's sort of what connects, that's sort of what drug culture is all about. People who smoke weed, you know, they feel like happy and content, or paranoid. It's kind of like the duality of it. And you kind of see people who do cocaine, they feel very confident and energetic, or paranoid. So like you kind of see that like that's what connects people together. They feel like there's like a false connection between them that the drug is creating. And in the same way, it's the same with emotions. So people flock to certain kinds of music for that emotion or sentiment in a song. And it's the same. So what I'm trying to say is that any emotion becomes addictive over time if you get used to it. So it's the same with anger. Some people like being a little bit angry. Some people like being a little bit sad, and they function in a state that should otherwise be dysfunctional. And that is ultimately terrible for your health. It just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And that's just a reminder on that topic. But there was another question, I believe.
What was your question, Jishan? The one that you had asked, the follow-up question.
I think it was to do with the mindset of you know, if you are able to, I believe you've touched upon it already as well. It's a case of, you know, if you are able to think it, you are able to create it. You know, because part of being a law of attraction there as well. Because a lot of time I was doing that, you know, and being calmness was a part of there. So it was a case of, so what do you think of that perspective of, if you're able to think something, you're able to create. So it's of that lifestyle that if you're created, you should be able to live it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing that really hangs people up, people, like, we have this thing over here where we say, like, personal hangups, right? We have our personal hangups. And you were talking about it earlier when you said, like, sometimes you want to do something, but you're personally met with the resistance of your friends and your family and their expectations. Their expectations kind of like hook you like a fish, and then they kind of hold you into place. Even though you want to keep swimming forward, you stay here out of reluctance and out of a desire to sort of just keep the peace. But by keeping the peace outside of you, which would otherwise be chaotic, you sacrifice your own inner peace, your own peace of mind. And there can only be one peace. It's either inside or outside. And that's why people pleasers are usually just like, there's always those people who they just want to complain and they just want to have their cake and eat it too, right? And you can't reason with those people because they don't have their peace. The other thing that I would talk about is the reason why most people, the law of attraction, or there's two things, right? There's the law of attraction and there's manifestation. Manifestation, you're creating new opportunities that don't otherwise exist. You're the first one. You're setting a precedence in your life. Law of attraction, you're like, oh, I like that. They're like, this morning I saw a hot air balloon in the sky. I'm like, now I'm only thinking about hot air balloons. I'm exclusively thinking about hot air balloons because I saw it and I'm like, what a great idea to go on a hot air balloon trip. Now, if I wanted to manifest something new, like, you know, like to invent a new possibility for other people to attract into their life, that requires a lot more energy and effort. But we're going to talk about law of attraction. Why it doesn't work for some people is because you need to understand how important your emotions are. And it's just not enough to think about what you want. You need to really put life, you need to breathe life into that imagination. So you can think about what you want all you want with very little results, because it's going to be comparative. There's going to be like a scale of what the universe is bringing you depending on where your energy is going. So if I just say you're thinking and you're feeling, well, what do people think about and feel the most? It's usually worst case scenarios. It's usually the things that they're charging with fear, that it's very incessant. It doesn't want to go away. It's like a monkey on your back. It just claws in, it digs into you, and it's like, hey, remember, think about that. And you're just like, no, I don't want to think about it. And you start stressing and you start to avoid it. And then it wins. It wins because it gets so much energy from you trying to ignore it. It gets charged. And then you're over here, you're trying to breathe life into like this. It's like eggs, you know, whatever mom sits on and incubates the most, what's going to hatch first. And it's like this race of which egg. And most people, you know, they're sitting on that egg that they don't want to hatch. They're focusing on how much they don't want it to hatch, and they're giving so much panic and fear to it, while this other one's neglected and cold. It's their dreams, and it just withers and dies, and they never actually do it because they're so charging this negative one. And sometimes, you know, we say full-fledged, like he's a full-fledged creator. Many of us, to be full-fledged, we have to take that initial leap out of the nest, out of our comfort zone. And so many people are afraid of just falling and being a crippled little bird that needs to be nursed back to health. And you can't rely on other people. You can't make your moves anticipating failure. You have to embrace that failure. You have to expect that failure. Like you were saying before, you kind of like, it's your mindset. You put a twist on failure, and it's just a road. And you go, okay, it's a bump in the road. You know, and if you went over it expecting it to not be there, you get a little startled by it, and and if you just take that same excitement, could be someone else's terror. They're terrified by that excitement. Oh my God, we just bumped. We could have went into the ditch. What if we went into it? Now you're in a fight. But it's like a couple in a car. One's like, oh, I'm so excited. The other one's just like, I'm not excited. I'm afraid. This is scary. And I think mindset is everything. And it's how we deal with conflict. It's how we deal with challenges. When we enjoy our challenges, then it promotes growth. And then when we're growing, we're progressing. And eventually we left so many cocoons. We go through these cocoons. We think that we're like the butterfly, we're at the end. But what happens when the butterfly goes into the cocoon? How do you get to this next level of metamorphosis, you know? And that's what I always think about. It's like beyond growth. We're talking about like real like metamorphosis. We're talking about like paradigm shifts. How do we have epiphanies? How do we get out of this? How do we get out of this dead end? How do we get into a new puzzle? Because there's a next challenge. If you're living for rest, that's like the first guy, this guy that he like mentored me, maybe his protege, said if you're living for a break, you're living for rest, then you're going to just not get it. You have to enjoy your work. You can't sacrifice your peace of mind while you work. You have to imbue everything in your life with joy. When you imbue everything and you just put your joy, you put your love into it, it's so transformative, because it's like you get it. You're grateful, and through that gratitude, it's not about what I wanted, what I expected to happen. It's about understanding you are the creator in a human form, and that you created everything, and you're appreciating yourself. This is real self-love. Is something, if you ever catch yourself saying, I don't want to do that, or I hate this, you are incapable of self-love. You need to work through that and understand, why am I saying I hate this? You need to see, well, who loves this? Understand that if you are taking for granted this moment, understand that someone is probably dreaming of your life. And I say this all the time, sometimes people are rich and we just want all their money. Why do they have so much money? Their life is so easy, but they have no love. They have no love, and they wish they didn't have money so that they had a chance at finding real love. But everybody knows they're rich. So there'll always be a question at the back of their minds. Do they love me, or do they love my money?
I love that. Thank you very much for that in-depth conversation that we had today. We did have a little cutoff, and then we were able to recoup and got that back on. So I wanted to just obviously quickly ask for the audience watching now and the listeners that will be listening to this later on as well. How can they reach out to you, and what do you got coming up?
Can I answer?
No, you can answer.
So right now our main thing is we're getting our website up. So soon it'll be very easy. We're gonna have our Sensational Power website. Right now, I guess we would probably go through Instagram. We're really working on our social media presence, being there. And just don't be afraid. Don't focus on what could go wrong. Focus on what you want to happen, because that's ultimately what we are. We're just here to help facilitate your dreams, and do not take that lightly. Like, I'm not a person who just talks out my wazoo. I'm serious when I talk. Like, we will make it work. Whatever you want, it's possible. It's like we were talking about today. If you can think it, you can make it happen. We just have to make sure that, it's not about what do I need to do. It's about what do I need to eliminate from my life? What is not serving me? It's not how do I be of service to people. It's like, how do I eliminate these things that aren't serving me? And then, of course, because I think we all want to help people, but it's these things that get inside our mind that like sabotage ourselves. I think we're all born great, but this mediocrity is indoctrinated into us.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, a lot of our lives, we've just been really conditioned. Like, even with going to school and everything, we were given our assignments, our midterms. Most of our lives revolved around that. So for a lot of like entrepreneurs, even when they resign from, a position that they want to move away from, and they have earned enough finances to create their own business, they just don't know how. They don't, they need to give themselves discipline and structure. Jason's name is discipline and structure. Like, that's just how he operates, day in and day out. He works every day and does so much greatness, and he contributes so much to not only sensational power, but also to a nutritious thought a day. So, it's just really, really fascinating to see that. So yeah, we have these like online, portals where people could direct message us, and then we can, further the conversation. I wanted to just add something to his the last bit that Jason spoke, and basically mentioned that, some dreams don't have timelines. There's no rush. Like, they're waiting for you to hold their hand. And I think that sense of urgency that, we have to have it now and get it done now, like that also causes people to stumble and not, gracefully just get to the canvas of whatever their canvas is, and show up and just do that and give themselves permission. But like I said, sometimes these things are very far behind. We left it behind. It's like that. I carried my 7-year-old and nurtured. I was like, I'm going to connect with that 7-year-old kid today. And I would paint, dance, color, do all these fun things and get into that creative world. And it would help me. So the thing is, like, we all have that waiting for us. And it's just us. We just got to activate that. So yeah, super great session here today. Like, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. And obviously the last part where they are able to reach out to you, and thank you for you know, adding a little bit of an extra weight onto it as well, like, by expanding it. So it was a great session. Thank you very much for the amazing conversation, Valorine and Jason. And people are able to reach out to you social media wise. So we've got your handle already here. And Jason, you have a direct handle?
Short answer, no. I only have my own personal artist account, which is the Birdman Berdan, and I have my other business, which is a nutritious thought a day.
So nutritious thought a day, and then your direct one as well. So people, if you wanted to reach out, they can reach out to you there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll amazing. Just type it in, like, both of them. So yeah. This is the first one, a nutritious thought a day. That's his blog where he posts every single day and has lots of previous postings there as well. Highly valuable, highly recommended. And the next one is honey, which one is it?
Birdman Berdan.
The sensational power?
Yeah, we have that's the new account we're trying to make.
Okay, and then this is his, you know, I don't know if everyone here knows, but he is a music producer as well. He makes original music. He also sings very nicely, amazingly.
Oh, that's good to hear. He kept that quiet throughout the whole conversation. There has to be another session just for that, because I do production side of things as well. If I had my way and the universe wasn't in my way growing up, I would have been a music producer. But I've got a home studio now, about 10-15 guitars and a keyboard and all that stuff. That would be a different conversation with yourself, Jason.
Yeah, we should reach out. We can work on a song. Yeah, definitely.
If you send him some riffs, he makes songs and it's incredible. He can remake, remaster tracks as well. Like, I did a track I did 10 years ago, and then he made it brand new right now and even added his vocals, which is like a huge honor. So
nice. So where can we hear all this stuff then? Is there anywhere posted online? SoundCloud or something?
Well, I was, and then I kind of switched. We're doing a lot of changes. We're doing a lot of stuff right now. Mostly it's all on my computer, unfortunately. But, that's what happens when we juggle many hats. We're kind of trying to keep ourselves from spreading ourselves thin. We want everything we do to be, like, imbued with that joy and be super potent. It takes a little extra time, but, like, it's definitely coming soon. I'm really excited because it's going to be, like, a combination of English and Hindi, and we're really interested in making more of, like, cinematic music and something that could be in movies. And it's about kind of like an amalgam of both of our loves of just cinema and just movies, and how important it is to have music and movies, and just also carrying a message of just, hope and consideration, so that people kind of reflect on that song in their lives and connect the dots and just kind of understand the message in a way that wouldn't be delivered the same if it was just spoken.
Amazing. So look forward to hearing all about that as well. Probably another session I'm sure in a few months' time when that is being launched as well, right? But thank you very much for today, and thank you very much for your time and patience as well when we had that little glitch there. So thank you very much for today. And everybody, if you've been watching this since beginning or are watching this on replay on IGTV, and you found this very inspiring, so it is now your duty. If you found this inspiring, it's your duty to now share this with whoever had just popped up in your mind, or just share it or tag that person, because it's our duty to, if we find something inspiring, we need to share it, because we never know who's woken up today or gone to bed thinking of something better that can change their life. And there might be something in here that they can just kickstart that creativity in their mind to do that, right? So tag that person below or share that on your stories, whatever feels comfortable to you. Thank you very much, Jason and Valorine. This will be on IGTV later. You feel free to tag all your handles back onto that, because these comments will be lost in a bit. But IGTV, you are able to go back and just post your comments back there again. And thank you very much. We're gonna just pause for a few seconds, because then that will take it as a screenshot. And everybody else, we will see you next Tuesday with an amazing soul as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Keep making music.
Water that garden.
Yeah, water the grass.
Yes.
Keep it green.